for speaking. Jay, if you'd like, you can go ahead and give us a quick introduction of yourself. Again, thank you very much for attending. And then if you would like, go ahead and get us started.
Great. Hello, everybody. Good evening. And I'm so excited to be here. Thanks to Chef Jason for inviting me. Um, it's it's been a pleasure. I've been excited about this, and it's a nice thing because I've been teaching Indian cooking classes since 2015 in Pittsburgh area, and these are the kind of things I really wanted to do to connect with other chefs. One of my mission is to be able to, you know, teach people or introduce, I should say, and share my knowledge. You know, the word teach makes it more academic or whatever, but more I'm interested in sharing my knowledge of Indian cooking in this community. And so more and more people who eat or want to eat Indian food don't get too intimidated by it. That's one of the things I keep hearing and finding out from people that, oh my God, there's so many ingredients and it's really, so I want to get that sense of comfort for people. And Indian food is another food. It's not something that you can handle, and especially with you chefs. All that said, my name is Jayashree Iyengar, or you can call me Jay, but most people call me Jay. And I have a business called Popping Mustard Seeds. And if we can move on to the next slide, I can tell you what I'm going to do today. So the agenda for today is I'll give you a brief introduction of myself, and then we'll talk about mainly, you know, when Chef Jason asked me, can you talk to us about Indian cuisine, and he suggested maybe the differences in the different regions in India, the diversified food in India, and I thought, I wasn't sure what I was going to talk about, really. To be honest with you, one thing that struck me was March 29th. I looked at my calendar, it said, it's the Holi festival. It's a festival in northern part of India, mainly celebrated this today, yesterday and today. You see, it's the full moon. And most of the Indian festivals and functions and ceremonies fall in the lunar calendar. And March full moon day is when, or February, March full moon day is when Holi is celebrated. It's a cheerful, very cheerful festival. I will talk more about it as we go along. So at first I thought, okay, I'll talk about festivals of India because this is just, you know, one festival. What if we talked about diversification in different parts of India? Then as I'm putting my slides together, I said, you know, there is so much I think people would want to know about Indian food and Indian ingredients and stuff. So maybe I'll just go through all that. I'm going to go through the slides quickly, and then I'll show you lots of ingredients I have here. I want to go through that more personal level. I wish we were all together. You could smell the stuff. It's so important, I think. You all as chefs know that smelling and tasting, you know, is so important in cooking. Without that, it's really hard to cook, right? So you can just blindfold a person, but the smell and taste is what matters most, in my opinion, at least. So I was going to talk about the various Indian ingredients like dals, which are lentils and grains, then spices and pickles, some Indian vegetables unique to Indian cooking, and also at the end, you know, we festivals and foods. I'll go to the holy part of it. But before we actually start, after my introduction, I'm going to do a demo. So let's get that over with. That way we have plenty of time to talk, and I don't want to rush at the end and do the demo. So let's move on to the next slide, please. So I come from India, obviously, and I come, as you see here, this is where I come from, South India. Chennai is a city. You may all have heard of Chennai, or it used to be called Madras when I was growing there. I came to the United States in 1980. I came to go to grad school. Originally, in my previous career, I was an engineer, and that's why I came here to go to grad school. And I got a master's degree in engineering, and I worked at Westinghouse, which is, of course, most people in Pittsburgh know of Westinghouse. So I worked there for a number of years, um, close to maybe 20, 25 years. And then in 2015, I decided, this thought has been going on in my mind for a few years before 2015, at least 5 years, that I wanted to teach Indian cooking, because when I came here, I didn't know how to cook. They don't really teach you in my when I was growing up. They just want children to go have fun. But I think it's a great idea for children to learn cooking, in my opinion. When I came here, I'm a vegetarian too. So when I came here, I really craved for our food. And in the 1980s, there was vegetarian food, there was Indian restaurants, Indian grocery stores, but not so much. So I wanted to learn how to make the food that my mom made. I missed it so much. So I learned to cook. I learned from other grad students. I learned from, people, other friends. And then I got married in Pittsburgh, actually. I met my husband. We got married. And then he's also of Indian origin, but he grew up here since he was 8. But his mom, wonderful person. Sorry that she passed away a few years ago. And my mom, who's still alive, and 94, they both came and stayed with us and taught me. I learned so much from them. Then we used to have dinner parties and invite people, and people always wanted to know how to make the food. So they got curious. Hey, how it's so flavorful, tasteful. How do you make it? So that is what gave me the confidence to think about teaching cooking classes. And I did a whole bunch of test classes with a bunch of friends, groups of friends. And of course, when I first started it, I had no idea what I was doing. Much difficult and so disorganized. But I tell you what, they have helped me so much to organize myself. And then I started teaching right away at Crate, the cooking school in Green Tree, if you know. And also there's a Pittsburgh Public Market used to have a kitchen. That was my first place I taught a series of classes. And then I decided, oh, I'm not sure what I'm talking about. I can cook, I can show you all this, but I want to learn more about the food itself. So I went and got a master's degree in food studies at Chatham University. I just 2 years ago. What an experience! Oh my God, going to school at an older age, completely turning 180 degrees and going and doing something different was not easy, I should say. I am of a brain who can do formulas and equations and all those kinds of things, engineering problems. But this was very different. But I don't know if you're all familiar with the food studies program at Chatham. It's a great program. Not only it's not so much as a culinary program. It's more that teaches everything about food, like agriculture and culture of food, history. There is also, I learned fermentation, I learned bread making, all kinds of stuff. So it was a really, really good experience, although it was challenging for me in the beginning because, I analyzed too much and I researched too much, but they just wanted the feel. What do you think? So that I'm still learning how to tell you those things, but it's getting better, I should say. But I tell you what, that was a great thing. I'm so glad I did that. And I started teaching at Phipps. I teach regularly now. You can check out their culinary program at Phipps, and I teach at least once or twice a month there. And at Craft at Chatham, which is the Center for Regional Agriculture and Food Transformation. They also do workshops, and I teach there once a month too. At Eden Hall, if you're familiar with it, they have a beautiful kitchen, just remodeled there. And what I want to do in the future, and it's coming very soon, is meal kits. I love teaching, but as I'm teaching, I'm realizing, wouldn't it be nice if I just sent to you all the ingredients needed for a meal, and then give you the recipes so you can come home, you can do. But the experience is what I am looking for. People actually doing all this stuff, cooking themselves, but then having all the ingredients right in front of you. Because one of the things I hear is, oh my God, I go to the Indian store, I'm lost. So, and also you get it in these big bags, and not everybody is pantry is capable of keeping all those things, right? But I tell you what, I think it's a great idea. I do the same thing. I go and cook some, I want to cook Chinese food, Asian food, or Thai food or Japanese food, and I buy all these ingredients and it's just sitting there. I'm learning more and more to cook diverse foods in my kitchen. So I want to use these ingredients. So that's kind of my idea behind it. But my main mission is so I can go into our community here right next to me and introduce Indian food to everybody, whoever's interested. And it gives me joy when I see repeated participants in my class. And I really enjoy, what I found is this has become my passion and I really enjoy teaching. Of course, I like to do it in person, but this whole year we've been doing it online. Sometimes I teach from my kitchen, sometimes from their kitchen, but it was not easy in the beginning, trying to figure out these camera setups. Now I have 3 cameras today. So this is great. This is after much revisions. We have this setup now, and I feel it's much more smoother now going. Also, I love teaching kids. I love, those are kind of the things that I want to do. Go to schools. Maybe, somebody here was talking about school lunches. I've been talking to the Pittsburgh Public School to see if we can introduce slowly maybe a dal, maybe a vegetable dish of Indian, culinary Indian cuisine to the schools here. Wouldn't that be wonderful? Of course, it'll give me joy to do that. So, and then I'd love to talk to different chefs. And this is so, I'm so happy I'm talking to you, because this gives me opportunity to network with you all, and maybe teach at some place, or maybe consult with you on your, if you have a restaurant, or whatever you're doing, and exchange ideas. So enough said. I have my website. Actually, it's one word, but poppingmustardseeds.com. I'm sorry about the space in between. And then it's my email is poppingmustardseeds@gmail.com. Feel free to contact me anytime with any questions, and I'm happy. I'm happy to converse with you, connect with you all. Having said that, let's do the demo first. So Holy Festival today. So let's move on to this counter. If you want to pin the counter where I have all the ingredients set up, it may be easier to see it. I'm going to pin it myself. So if you go to the 3 dots, if you see this counter with all the ingredients, if you go to the 3 dots and say pin, that's one way of putting it. Or Lisa can spotlight it for everybody too. So I hope you can all see the ingredients. The Holi is a festival in northern India. I'll talk to you more about it in the slides. So they make this drink, this beverage called Thandai. Thandai is the recipe. I did send it to Chef Jason. If you haven't gotten it, please ask me or Chef Jason and get the recipe for it. It's this very delicious, refreshing beverage. So what does it have in it? It's got milk, and then it has almonds. You can, what they do typically, what I'm going to do, there are 2 ways of doing this. You can make everything fresh in a blender, wet grind, and then make it. Or what I'm going to do, what I've done today is already made a powder out of all this. That way, see, I have a jar ready and I have the powder made. You can see the powder made, and I'm just going to store it in this jar after I use it today. And I'm going to put it in my fridge. You know why? Because I'm going to use these nuts. And nuts always have oils in them, right? And those oils could become rancid. So I want to make sure that it stays nice and fresh. So you can also keep it in the freezer if you don't use it all the time. So that's what I'm going to do with this. But I'll tell you what went into, sorry, grinding. I'm just using this coffee grinder, but I only use this for spices. So some of these ingredients we'll talk about later, but almond meal, you can just get fresh almonds and dry them and powder them. I just got almond meal, so I was going to use that. And then I have these pistachios, raw pistachios, and then I have cardamom. We'll talk about the ingredients later. Cardamom is what's going to give it this nice smelling sweet taste. If you've all had chai, which is a kind of tea, masala chai, cardamom is one of the main ingredients that goes into making chai. And then there's black pepper. Hey, of course, it has to have a little spike, right? Then there's fennel seeds. Now that's going to give this beautiful aroma. And then there is anise seed. Actually, this is poppy seeds. Poppy seeds we use in making sweet dishes, and also sometimes we throw it in and grind it to make sauces. And then I have melon seeds. So they use like, typically they use cantaloupe, that dried cantaloupe seeds, or sometimes watermelon seeds. And these are ready to eat. These the shell has been removed, it's inside of it. And then there's anise seed. Anise seed is similar to fennel, but is much smaller. It comes from anise. And then I have saffron. Saffron, of course, another beautiful, expensive spice with the, it's grown very rarely, in Kashmir in India, which is northern part of India. It's very much grown there, and also I think Spain has grown, and other parts. I even here in Lancaster, they're growing this somewhere where they're able to grow it. So that's interesting. Then instead of sugar, I have some local maple syrup and local honey. One of my missions in these cooking classes and my meal kits is to be able to use as much local products as possible. I'm going to try to connect with farmers. In fact, if any of you know farmers who can connect me with them, I'll be so grateful. And I'm also slowly connecting with them through my food studies and other networking ways. And honey, this is also local honey. So the maple syrup comes from Paul Family Farms. And this is in Pennsylvania. It's in the Potter County. You may all know where that is. And it's a bourbon barrel aged maple syrup. Ooh. And then there's honey from Cranberry, actually. It's Huckabee Farms. So I'm going to use that. And then I have some shaved slivered almonds that goes on top. So here are all the ingredients. And let's make this dish quickly here. So what I'm going to do is first I'm going to warm up the milk. So if you can pin the stove top now, which is another camera that I have. Yeah, thank you, Lisa. So I'm going to go to the stove top and hope you can all see it. So I have a cup of milk ready to go into the pot. Very little. I'm just going to make a cup here, and I'm going to turn on the stove. Let's see. Hopefully you can all see it properly here. All right. So let's wait for the milk to warm up. It doesn't have to boil or anything. It'll take a couple minutes to warm up, depending on the heat of the stove, of course. And before it starts to, how it foams and comes up, I'm going to turn off the heat. And then what I'm going to do is keep this powder that I was talking about, that I just made with all these ingredients I mentioned to you, except the honey. That didn't go into making the powder, obviously. I'm going to, when it's warm, I'm going to put like a tablespoon for a cup, a tablespoon or so. One of the nice things about cooking is quantities depends on your taste. So it's always nice to follow a recipe for the first time. And then you all chefs probably know this. When I first started cooking, it was a pinch of this and pinch of that. And then when I had to teach cooking, I said, oh my God, how am I going to do this? I have to give people recipes, right? So what I did was, took me months, I should say, to come up with all these recipes. I had to sit down and experiment them. I had to write it down as I was making the stuff. And then sometimes I'll forget. I'm like, oh my God, what did I just do? That tasted so good. Why didn't I take notes today? So this is how I finally have nowadays I'm being a little bit better about it, putting down things as I'm making. So, when something tastes really good, I already have the information with me, right? But having said that, I should say it does not matter. Once you know how to make something, it's up to you what taste you want. You want a little bit more of chilies. The chili is the only thing that gives the heat in Indian cooking. None of the other ingredients really add too much heat at all, if any. So, or you don't like the flavor of cumin, just leave it out. You like the flavor of, you don't like cilantro, just leave it out. And also I don't like so much of this and that. So just leave on those ingredients. So already it's warm, so I'm going to turn it off for a second, the heat. Then I'm going to put a tablespoon. You don't have to turn off the heat because you need to. So I got a tablespoon here and a little bit more. So as my grandmother says, a little bit more for luck. And then I'm going to turn on the heat again, kind of, medium to low flame. And I'm going to just 30 seconds. That's all I need. Now, if you grind it fresh, you can soak whole almonds and all the other, ingredients in water for maybe 15-20 minutes before you start grinding them in a blender. And then at this point, you'll be adding that ground up stuff in here. I'll give it another couple more seconds here. It's really simple. And Holi is a festival they celebrate it's welcoming. There you go. You see how it's boiling up? I'm going to turn off the heat now. I'm going to let it cool before I pour it into my cup to drink. So let's just leave it in the back burner for now and let it cool for, oh yeah, sorry. I have to add the honey. Yeah, most important, right? We need that sweet. So you can add sugar. The recipe actually says 2 teaspoons of sugar or whatever. I'm just adding honey and maple syrup today because, or you can add jaggery. I'll talk about that in a few minutes. Now, see, I like to do this. I don't like to waste anything. That's again something I learned from my grandmother. She would just put water or whatever needs to get everything out of there. Because she doesn't like to lick it. And the saffron. Saffron in hot milk is going to give you this beautiful color. And so let's mix it up. Just let's leave it there to cool down a bit. I hope the saffron is enough to give, yeah, it's slowly starting that yellowish, saffronish color, All right, we'll leave it there. And I want to do one more demo. So you all know that my business is called Popping Mustard Seeds. And what I'm going to do today is, why do I call my business Popping Mustard Seeds? Because I come from South India, where we pop mustard seeds as a topping as a garnish for so many different foods. In fact, if food is boring, if you just don't want to eat plain rice or plain something, just what I'm going to show you now, if you do this topping, it's going to add this amazing flavor to your dish. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this raita. Raita is nothing but, that reminds me, I have to take my yogurt out. Yogurt is something I make at home. So I have, half a gallon of milk. I make yogurt as soon as every 3 or 4 days I make yogurt. So, and this is the same culture I've been using for 3 years now. There's tomatoes and onions in here. I just chop them up. You can make, typically raita is made with cucumber and onion. That's the most popular one. You'll go to restaurants and eat. But this, I didn't have cucumber, but this is a really refreshing raita. So I'm going to add some yogurt to it. So my yogurt got a little thin, but that's okay. It doesn't matter what kind of yogurt it has to be plain. Please do not put sugared yogurt in this dish because it's not meant for, sugar is not meant, but if you like it that way, that's fine. But I prefer it without sugar. So let me get a spoon. Okay, let it just soak there. I get a spoon. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pop some mustard seeds with a couple other ingredients. And I'm going to top this with mustard seeds, popped mustard seeds, and some cilantro. And then it's done. So that's all there is to this. We'll go to the other, I'll show you later how it looks when we go to the other camera. But right now, I'm going to go back to the stove. If we can pin the stove, please. I'm going to, so in India, oh, I'm sorry about that noise. So in India, they have this, you can buy this, I'll show it to you later, closer up there. You can buy this big ladle, which is used, you can also get it in cast iron. So what I'm going to do is place it on the stove with a little oil in it. Just a little bit of oil. That should be enough. See, not even a teaspoon. And I'm going to put some mustard seeds in it. And we'll talk about ingredients. I know I'm going way ahead, but I will come back to them. Believe me. So I'm going to put just about half a teaspoon of mustard seeds in there. And I'm going to turn on the heat. Now, when you are popping mustard seeds, it's good to have a lid handy to the saucepan. You can make this in a little skillet or saucepan, whatever you have. You don't have to have this contraption, right? So what's going to happen is it's going to start sizzling and it turn white, and then it's going to start popping. That's when you have to be careful. It might take a little longer. If it's hot oil, it'll pop almost immediately. So if you're putting it in a hot oil, beware. And don't step away when you're doing this because it happens too fast and it can burn. But if you watch it, it's really a delicious, topping that you're going to have. So can you hear it? It's popping. So when it's popping like that, I'm going to put the lid so that it doesn't spurt out all over. I'm going to wait for 10 seconds. So slowly count to 10. Then I'm going to turn off the heat. Because if you let it go further than that, it might burn, especially with this. So 10 seconds is up. I'm turning off the heat. You can still hear it pop. So one of the things with mustard seeds, you have to be very quiet. If you have your tap running, your faucet running, if you have your microwave on, or if you have some other noise going on, a vacuum cleaner, you may not be able to hear it. And I've had people tell me, oh my God, I burnt my mustard seeds, or it's not popping at all. So if it's not popping at all, your oil is not hot enough. That's the only reason. But if it burns, it's because you didn't hear it. So it's always better to be careful, be right next to the mustard seeds. The other ingredient I'm going to add to it is called asafoetida. Some of you might have heard of this. It's also called hing in Hindi. And I'm going to add only a pinch, and I'll talk to you later about what it is. It's a very interesting ingredient. It smells weird when you just smell it. So I put like 1/8 of a teaspoon there. That's all you need for this amount. Usually you don't put anything more than 1/4 to 1/2 teaspoon of asafoetida because it has that really pungent smell. But when you put it in there, it becomes delicious. And the other thing that I want to show you is curry leaves. Curry leaves, I'm just going to take 2 from here and I'll talk about it again. Curry leaves are very unique to Indian cooking. And curry leaves, you know, they're only, they have nothing to do with curry, by the way. They are available in the Indian stores only in Pittsburgh. And what I do, it has this beautiful, I mean, I can't describe to you what the smell is, like kaffir lime, but it's really not. It has a very unique smell, very hard to grow. It's very tropical, this plant, so it's hard to grow. Now, I'm going to just rip it apart a couple times because, and just smell it. Oh, I wish you were all here smelling this with me because this is a very pleasant smell. Now, when you put it in hot oil, which is now cooled down, curry leaves tend to spurt also. So be careful when you do that and keep your lid handy again. That's why I had the lid there. So, but it didn't spurt because it cooled down. And also if it's wet, if you just washed it, that's going to happen. It's done. My topping is all ready. I'm going to go back here to the counter and I'm going to put it in here. Just top it. Plus, I already added salt. And salt is a very important ingredient in Indian cooking because it brings out the flavor of all the other things. Of course, if you can't eat salt or if you have to eat low salt, yes, you have to listen to your doctor and not me. But I want to tell you that instead of salt, some dishes can use lemon juice. You know, you have other things you can add to it. But salt it's in my opinion, is very important to bring out all the flavors in the Indian cooking. And the amount of salt, you know, you don't have to go overboard with it. Just a pinch of salt is fine. So if we can go to the camera for the counter, and I want to show you what it looks like close up. So here you go, my raita with all these mustard seeds, and I added some cilantro to it. And this is delicious with the rice dish, with the bread, or just eat it plain. It's very, very tasty. And I'm going to eat a little bit. Very good. Also, since there's yogurt, you may not need as much salt because, you know, yogurt has that special flavor in it. It's got this sour and salty flavor by itself. So that may be enough. Okay, I'm done with my demo. Now let's see if it's cooled down. It's still kind of warm. So we'll go back to it a little later in the, you know, once after we start talking about other things. So let's move on to the back to the slides. Okay, we can go to the next slide now. Okay, so dals and grains. So you know, I'm not sure any other cuisines I know have so many different varieties of lentils. Dals are nothing but legumes. They're lentils. They're just beans. They're grown just like beans in a pod. And then they take it out and dry it and they become splitted. That's when dals are split beans or split lentils. So I want to show you what I don't know if I can show you from here. It may be best if I showed you on the, would it be too much of a problem, Lisa, to go back and forth? So let me, yeah, to the
Not a problem at all.
Okay, let's go to the other counter camera where I can show you the ingredients. I'm going to, all right, very good, thank you. So, there are so many different dals here. So let's talk about dals first. Tur dal. See, it's called red gram dal because when it's with the husk on top, it's a whole bean, right? It's red in color. I've never seen the whole bean, by the way, for this dal. This is one of the easiest digestible dals. You can eat this every day. Cooked dal of a cup of dal has like 17 grams of protein. So it's quite a bit of protein, and you don't even have to eat all of the whole cup of dal. You mix it with other things. This is flat and easy. Dals are easy to cook. You don't have to soak them overnight. These are split, so it doesn't have to be soaked. But what I do is at least soak it for half an hour, then it's easier to cook. So dal, that's tur dal. Then there's chana dal. Chana dal is nothing but split chickpeas. So it's got mostly a yellow or a brown skin, right? So they call it chana. Chana is nothing but chickpeas, and this is one of the harder dals to digest. So I wouldn't want to eat this every day, but it's okay to eat once in a while. And then there is moong dal. Moong dal is one of my favorite dals too, because this is again easy to digest. See, this is yellow split moong dal, right? Where does it come from? But moong beans. You probably are all familiar with green moong beans. This green moong beans without the husk becomes that when it's split. Moong beans is one of the most nutritious dals, the lentils. If you just soak it in water and just cook it that way, or just after an overnight, remove the water and let it sprout for a couple days. Oh, it's delicious. You can add it straight away in salads, or you can cook with it. Very nutritious. I love moong dal. Then there is urad dal. Urad dal is nothing. This is black gram dal. I'll show you. It has a black husk and it's a split black gram. So if you like dosas or idlis, if you have eaten those in a South Indian restaurant, it's made with this dal which is whole and short grain rice. So it's fermented. Idlis are fermented and dosas are also fermented, and they're made with this dal. Typically in the South, we don't use it for cooking and eating directly. We make dosas and idlis and those kind of dishes with it. Now the whole moong dal or urad dal, I was telling you, the same thing. This is a whole. So this is what we soak overnight, and then with rice, and then or at least for 4 to 5 hours, and then you grind it, and then you put it in a warm place to ferment, and then you can make dosas and idlis. Now this is where it comes from. It's a black gram dal, meaning the husk is black. Now if you've been to an Indian restaurant and if you've had dal makhani, this is what the dal they used to make dal makhani with. Again, this has to be soaked a little longer because it's whole. But makhani just means butter. It just means dal and butter, and they cook it with onions and garlics and ginger and all that great stuff. And so next time you have dal makhani, you know what exactly you're eating. So, and one more thing. So there is, I don't have short grain rice, unfortunately, today. But short grain rice is what is used not for daily eating, but to make the dosas and idlis and dishes like that. In different parts of India, they make different dishes. Now, the other thing, which is not a grain, but we use it like a grain, is tapioca. So this is nothing but comes from a root. You may all know cassava, same thing. Tapioca, they're all in the same family. They extrude it and they make these balls. We make delicious dishes with this. You can soak it for a bit in water and then cook with it. There's a dish in Gujarat called sabudana khichdi. Sabudana just means tapioca. And you add some cumin seeds and potatoes and peanut powder to it. It's delicious. I do teach that in some of my classes. So those are some of the grains I wanted to show you today. Then let's go to the spices. One of the things I want to show you is you get overwhelmed with all the spices. You don't know where to store. Every Indian household would have this thing called spice box. We call it dabba. Dabba just means box. spice dabba. In both Hindi and Tamil, which is the language I speak, it's called dabba. It comes with these little dishes, little containers in there. Now, I put in my dabba what I use frequently. You can put whatever you use frequently. So you come back from the Indian store. What I do is empty those packets, or put it in jars, and then I take this out. This is handy. I keep it right next to my stove up in the pantry, on the shelf. Mustard seeds right in the middle is my mustard seeds. Then I have chilies. These red chilies are pretty hot, actually. Those red chilies. Then there's cumin seeds. Cumin seeds, everybody's familiar. And then I have these, one of the other ingredients I have is fenugreek. I'll talk to you in a minute about fenugreek, one of my favorite things. It's very bitter, but it's so good for your stomach. And this, I'm talking, usually I question all these things when people say, oh, this is good for you, that herb is good for you. But this one, I have firsthand experience. Just swallow this. If you have a stomachache, and there's acidity or something, I don't go for Tums. I go for methi or fenugreek seeds. I take just like a half a teaspoon of it, swallow it with water like I'm taking medicine. Believe it or not, 20 minutes and my stomachache is gone away. So, and then I also take that when I feel heavy in the stomach. Sometimes I've eaten too much, you just feel like, oh my God, this is just, my stomach doesn't feel good. I feel that's a great time to take this. Then I have chili powder. Sorry, I'm almost out of the chili powder. Remember, the Indian store chili powder is pure chilies. If you go to the regular grocery stores and chili powder, if you buy, they add stuff to it. I highly recommend going to the Indian store if you follow Indian recipes, because the other stuff will add a different taste to it. This is just this kind of chili that I don't know too much about chilies, which I have to learn actually. It's spicy. All that I can say is it may not be very spicy, but it's medium to high. I don't know what the Scoville numbers for these are. And then there is, why do I have two dals in here? I have urud dal and I have chana dal. The reason I have the two dals in there is because we use those dals in South India also for topping and garnishing. So when I make a vegetable dish, stir fry, I use some of those dals to give it that nutty taste. You can also add nuts. You can add sesame seeds. But the dals have a very lovely smell when you roast it with in the beginning. That's what I do first when I'm frying my whole spices. I like cumin. I add dal. The only spice. Oh, well, let me not jump ahead. So that's for some of the spices in the box that I use. There are other spices. There's coriander seeds. Why didn't I put that in the box? This is one only spice I know that you don't cook directly with. You have to powder it or mix it with other spices. That's how you use coriander seeds. So coriander seeds, since I don't use it everyday cooking, I use it to make powder. I just don't put it in my box. Then there is this black cumin. It's called shajira. This one also I don't use. It's a very North Indian. I'll go back to my slides and tell you the differences. That's a kind of cumin. And then there is this thing called karam. It's also called ajwain. It's also good for your stomach. They even make water out of this. They distill it and make some water, and it's very good. They even give it to babies if they have stomach issues. It's got a very unique aroma, like oregano. This one, very similar to oregano, but it's not oregano. And then, of course, we saw fenugreek. Then there is cinnamon and star anise. We'll talk about that more when we go back to the slides. Then there is, you saw the green cardamom, right? I showed you green cardamom. Let me show it to you again. There's green cardamom, and then there is black cardamom. What's the difference? Green cardamom is very sweet. I mean, it's used to make savory dishes too in the north, but in the south we use it only for sweet. We never use black cardamom in the south, but northern India people use it because it has a. If you smell it, it smells smoky. If you like the smoky taste, they use it. Inside it is the seed. They remove it or sometimes grind it all together. They marinate meats and vegetables with it. So that's what, because it's smoky, you don't use it for sweets. Now, there's cloves. You all probably know cloves. Cloves, again, is very much used in northern Indian cooking. And then, of course, this is called Kashmir chili. This chili is not as spicy, but it gives a beautiful color. So when you add this chili plus the heat chili, it gives you color and some heat. Then there is bay leaves. You all know bay leaf probably. This again, you don't eat this, but curry leaves I showed you earlier, you can eat, but not bay leaves. You remove it out of you can use it to give the flavor, but fresh flavored bay leaves are even better, which is really hard to find. And then there's Indian turmeric and ginger are used quite a bit in Indian cooking. You probably all have heard turmeric. There's been a recent, superfood and all that stuff. I highly recommend buying organic turmeric because I did my thesis for my master's on turmeric. What I found as a part of my thesis, I did not do health benefits, but I did more of agriculture of turmeric in the US. I went and interviewed some farmers and asked them why are they growing it. They all really believe it's good for you. The organic, because when turmeric is not organic in India, there is stuff added to it, like lead sometimes, because they use it's not added, it's a process they do to polish turmeric to make it shine, which is ridiculous, and hopefully they'll stop doing that. And then they also add sawdust sometimes just for the volume. So I highly recommend a good reliable source of organic turmeric. Now, jaggery, you may all have heard of jaggery. It's nothing but unrefined sugar. It's from sugar cane, that's or palm sugar. It can come from both. They put it in a mold, and you have to buy it, in big quantities like that at the Indian store. So, and it's just brown sugar, really. It's sugar. And then there's green chilies. In the Indian store, you can find these green chilies. These are medium hot. And if the recipe says 1 or 2, one is usually enough, sometimes 2 or 3. If you want more heat, add another. It's not terribly hot. Now, the last ingredient I want to talk about here is asafoetida. Asafoetida is interesting. It's hing. It's nothing but a resin that comes out of a plant. It's very sticky. It actually looks like a piece of glass or something like that. And then they powder it. In fact, as I was growing up, we couldn't get powder. We had to buy it in slabs. I remember my mother powdering it, or like a mortar and pestle, because she didn't have a blender in those days. Or you can also soak it in water and use that. But it's also called devil's dung because of this smell it has. But like I said, you only need a pinch of it, and then it tastes really good. One other ingredient I don't have here is camphor, which is also similar. It comes distilled from a bark and wood of a tree, a camphor tree. That one is used to make sweets. It's very, very, the smell just overrides everything else. But there's also edible and non-edible camphor. So you have to be careful with what you're getting with camphor. But you all might have heard of mastic. All these are very related, and mastic is used a lot in the Middle East. And I think asafoetida also came from the Middle East, actually, to India. That's used for sweet dishes. This is only used for savory, not for sweet dishes. Now, I don't know if I talked to you about rose petal when I talked to you about the thandai dish we did. The rose petal is, you can actually get all these ingredients at the Indian store. Very nice. And we're going to use that in the thandai when I finish making the dish. So those are the ingredients I wanted to talk about. Let's go back to the slides and then I continue on with it. I see the time is 8 o'clock, and I hope you all have a little bit more time to spend with me this evening, because I really want to go over some of these other things. So as far as dals, and we talked about, then grains, rice, I said there's long grain, which is basmati, jasmine, all those rices. There's a million variety of rices in India, and they still don't know if it's original from India or not. And it's been growing in India for thousands of years. And the the biggest difference is in the North India, they use wheat is the main crop, and South India it's rice as far as grains are concerned. And so South Indians eat a lot more rice dishes, and North Indians eat a lot more breads like naan and chapati and roti, all those parathas. Those are very North Indian, but of course we do eat them in South India too. So there's long grain and short grain. I talked. We hardly eat short grain every day. We eat it only to make special dishes. There's wheat, there's millet. Parts of India used to, there's only, before rice, there was only millet and sorghum. That's also kind of millet. And even quinoa, similar to that. Quinoa is a seed, obviously. But these grains, they still cook with it in some parts of India. Not where I come from as much. We use it for cereals, but in some parts of India, like Gujarat, Maharashtra, the western part of India, they use a lot of this in their everyday cooking and make breads with it. Very difficult. No, gluten-free breads are not that easy, but I'm learning to make it. You actually can. You have to use hot water to mix it and make it quickly. With the regular gluten wheat rotis, those are much easier to handle. So that's the difference. And then there is sabudana. We already talked about that. So let's move on to the next slide, please. So I think I talked about most of all of these things pretty much in here. And this, both North and South India use all these dishes, and even the oils I put in, the ingredients, I added oils in here because I didn't know where else to put it. Marathi mug, which I didn't have with me, is also unique to South India actually, but they do use it in some northwestern parts of India, which is like in the Bombay area, Maharashtra. It's like a caper, and it's thin like a caper, and it's got its unique taste. There's of course sesame seeds and sesame oil, vegetable oil, all kinds of different oils, both north and south. But different between north and south is cardamom, cinnamon, cloves are only used in the south for sweet dishes. We don't make biryani. It's not a very, or a pulao is a pilaf, all those things. Those, and garam masala. So masalas use this. In the south, we use these only for making sweets. Cinnamon, cloves, all those things go only in our sweet dishes. And cardamom, we use lots of cardamom. And mainly north is where we hardly use these in the south. Fennel seeds, anise seeds, nigella seeds, which is nothing but onion seeds. You probably know about that. Beautiful smell actually for nigella seed, bay leaf, and all these other poppy seeds. Mango powder they use in the north. We use mangoes in the south because it grows tropical in the south. In the north, as you go, it gets a little colder. They really have a winter there, and they actually use mango powder because they have to get it in the season, and then they have to dry it and preserve it. And then mustard paste and mustard oil is used a lot in the state called Bengal, which is where Kolkata is, which is in the northeastern part of India. Most of the dishes will call for mustard oil or mustard paste. And then the last thing is rose petals. I was showing you rose water. Again, these are used in the north. In the south, we just admire the roses in our garden. We don't use it to cook. And then masalas. So when you think of Indian food, many people think of curry, which is a convenient way of saying I'm going to eat Indian food. But curry is not a word we typically use in India. In South India, actually, curry means different things for different communities. Curry, for me, it could mean a stir-fried vegetable. For somebody else in Tamil Nadu, it could mean a fish curry or a mutton curry or a chicken curry, right? But in the north, they hardly ever use, but ironically, garam masala is very similar to curry powder, which is used only in the north. Garam masala is hardly used in the south, and of course, we now everybody uses everything. Um, Garam masala is similar to curry powder, but curry powder is actually a British invention when it was made in England. When British came back to England, the Indians migrated there. They wanted to please their palates, and so they mixed a bunch of spices together. For garam masala, typically, it has. I'll show you in the next slide, and then there is all these different masalas, chole masala, chaat masala, chai masala. I can talk to you on days about these things, but hopefully you can share the slides and then you can check these out. But in the south, we call them all powders. We don't call them masalas. We call sambar powder, rasam powder, and those are dishes we make and the powders we use for those dishes. And then there is dal powder and God, I can't see this very well here. Oh, busy bela. That's a dish we make. It's similar to sambar powder, but it's a unique powder we make. Then there is coconut powder. You're wondering what the heck is coconut powder? Well, we dry coconut and then we make a powder with dals with it. So let's move on to the next slide and I'll talk more about that. So spice mixtures, examples. This in the north, I said garam masala. Basic ingredients to make a garam masala is black cumin seeds, which I showed you earlier, black peppercorn, which I didn't show you, but you all know what that is, cinnamon, cloves, and whole green cardamom. But of course, every family, every community have their own ingredients, recipe to make these things. You can add coriander seeds to it, bay leaf to it, caraway seeds to it. You can add mace to give it a little bit more heat, fennel seeds, sesame seeds. But you roast all these things and just grind them up, and that's what makes the masala. Masala just means a mixture of spices. Masala just means mixture in itself. You can call anything, we even call movies masala sometimes because the movie has everything in it. Oh, some of the worst movies. But anyway, south, we call them powders. Now, sambar is this dish. They both look similar, but sambar is made with vegetables and dal, the tur dal I was talking to you about, the easy digestible dal. And sambar powder typically has coriander seeds, red chili, and then there is chana dal. Remember I told you we use dals a lot in South India, even to make the powders. The dal also acts as a thickening agent. So it's convenient to use it that way. Cumin seeds, fenugreek seeds, the one I talked to you about. Usually fenugreek seeds in these powders are very little because it's of the bitter taste. You want to make sure you have less of it. And then rasam powder, you probably all have mulgatani soup, right? Nothing, mulgatani in my language means pepper water. That's all it is. And it's again a Western concoction of rasam. Rasam, typically all that you need to make rasam is some tamarind or tomatoes, and then you need some dal. Some people make it without dal. You need cumin seeds and black pepper. Those are the two main ingredients for rasam. You can just grind them in a mortar and pestle, cumin seeds and black pepper. Just add them to your tamarind water or lemon, whatever you want to make it with tomatoes. Boil some tomatoes, add this, some turmeric. Of course, turmeric is very important in all these. Some people add it already in the powders, but in my family, I just add the turmeric when I'm cooking the dish and not in the powder. Turmeric stains very easily too. But some people also add coriander seeds and tur dal to the rasam powder. You don't need all of that. You can this is my chicken noodle soup. When I'm sick and I want to eat something, this is what I make for myself. And with a little bit of nicely mushed up rice, oh, it's like heaven. And it brings out your sinuses and it's great, great. Let's move on to the next slide. And I want to show you, everybody's heard of chai. Chai, what is chai? Chai is a tea. Chai just means translated to tea. And masala chai just means it's made with spices, masala, mixture of spices. And all that you need to make chai is maybe just cardamom, just a couple pods of cardamom. You can boil it in water, add your tea leaves, and then, or you can make it with even your tea bags, but you have to filter out the cardamom from it. Is smash the cardamom a bit, that way it brings out the flavor, and then just ginger. You can add just ginger, that makes a great, and some turmeric to it. It's very tasty, and some honey if you like, or cardamom and ginger. So this, I came up with this as I was looking up how to make chai. I got all these ideas, and I said, you can make chai with all or any of these ingredients. So let's move on. I just wanted to show you, and then there is pickles and chutneys. What are pickles? Nothing to do with pickles that you heat here. It's very different. These are spicy, as you can see. They all have lots of chili powder. These are the pickles here. This is just chilies stuffed. And then there's lemon, and then there's lime, and this is probably vegetables or mango. So they can be fermented or mostly preserved. Pickles are not. Sometimes, you need a lot of to make fermentation is difficult because not much sun. It has to be kept in the sun. So you can, and we don't add any vinegar to it. See, it's more made with salt and chili powder. And then in the South India, we use sesame oil to mix it all together, and we just pop mustard seeds to it and add curry leaves to it. And then we jar it, and it's with a lot of oil and chilies. There's also fenugreek, very important for pickles. These also keep them, preserve them, and you can keep it in your fridge for a long time that way. Pickles can be made with all these different vegetables and gooseberries. See in the background here, I put gooseberries. Very much, it's a very tasty pickle with gooseberry. Again, chutneys. You all probably heard chutneys. These are not sweet chutneys I'm talking about. Those are British made again. These are hot chutneys. If you go to an Indian restaurant, South Indian restaurant, you'll see these. These are like coconut chutney, and there is mint chutney. It's not here. This is the mint chutney. It's more North Indian. South Indian is more cilantro is used in the chutney. Dal and coconut are ground together with some red chilies. And then there's tomato chutney too. And you can also make orange peel chutney. Don't throw away those oranges. You can make orange peels. You can make chutneys with it. And let's move on. And Indian vegetables. So I actually have some of these vegetables here. These are the unique, and I just did a class at FIPS for both adults and children using 3 dishes and 3 vegetables. And I'll show you what I did. So you see that big picture, that's ash gourd. It's like a big pumpkin. This is ash gourd. You just want like a slice of it, and that's all you need. And this white part is what you remove the skin, and you just cook with this. We made cooked with this to make a yogurt dish recently in that class. And then there is this tindora. This is also unique to Indian. And you can either, these don't even look good. You can either slice them, because I left it out. You can just slice them in circles, thin, or you can slice them like this. I prefer it this way. And then you just stir fry them. Delicious. With some, of course, mustard seeds. You can put walnuts in it, sesame seeds, all those topping to garnish it. And snake gourd. This is a small snake gourd. These look amazing. If you Google them and see pictures, they're hanging like snakes from the, vine. It's a neat. So I want to show you. So this, if you cut it up, it's got a very tough skin, but it takes a long time to cook, but it's very sweet. And see this cottony, fluffy part, all that you have to, it's got seed in it. You just take it all out. And then you're just going to use this with the skin. You don't have to remove the skin for this. And then you just chop it up, and you can make sambar with it, the dish I was telling you, with dal and that sambar powder, or you can just stir fry it. The other one I want to show you is coyote squash. This you can also find in the giant eagle. This is a squash which inside, what does it look like? That's what it looks like inside. You have to peel off the skin, just use the white part. Just like I was showing you the ash gourd. You can use it similarly to make soupy dishes like sambar, or you can make stir fry with any of these. So those are some of the Indian vegetables I wanted to share with. We'll go back and finish off the slides. There's just a couple more, I think. Thank you all for being so patient. I hope it's not too late for. Oh, and there's bitter gourd in there. See this? Bitter gourd is actually bitter, and this one, when you make bitter gourd, it's very tasty. There are people who like deep fried, shallow fried, deep fried in batter, which is probably very tasty, and then the shallow fried. But you want to make sure, there's a dish I make with dal and this. You want to make sure you have the right amount of tamarind and chilies and salt to it to remove the bitterness. Tamarind, the sourness, and the chili and the salt, it's like umami. In my mind, umami means the right amount of all these things. Then, for any dish, my mother would say, you have to have those right amounts. And that's when the dish tastes right. She's very picky, hard to please sometimes, actually. If she says my cooking is good, I'm thrilled. So I think, okay, I figured this out. Anyway, and this one is called the elephant yam. Very interesting taste. It's not my favorite vegetable, but it can also hurt your throat for some people. It's got that allergy thing. But anyway, what I haven't shown you is flat beans. It's called avareka. It's really flat. And again, in the state of Karnataka, which is also in the south, they make all kinds of, because there's a season where it grows in abundance. They use it to make dosas, they use it to make sambar, they use it to make stir fry, all kinds of stuff. And talking about diversity in India, you go to every state, you're going to have different foods in India. When you go to a restaurant here, it's nothing but Mughal food. It's very North Indian, where the Mughals brought it to India. That's what you see. But if you go to a South Indian restaurant, you're going to see mostly dosas and idlis. Like Udupi in Pittsburgh, in Monroeville, is a good example of South Indian restaurant. They make really good food. Dosas and idlis, those are South Indian food. But there are so many foods in India that you don't even taste because it's not available here. That is one of the things, as I'm teaching my classes, I'd like to do is learn dishes from different parts of India and then teach it to people. Teaching is one of the best way to learn, I figure. When I'm teaching, I have to know what I'm talking about, right? And of course, I have to experiment and make sure it all tastes good and comes out right before I teach a class. So let's move on. I think we're pretty much okay. Festivals and foods of India. Sorry, this I thought it'd be better. See, so we talked about Holi. Many Indian festivals, like Holi in North India, which is celebrated today, is the coming of spring. They're starting to see things growing and their crops. So they're celebrating that with lots of colors. They throw color all over the people's faces, and that's how they celebrate. They drink that, the drink I made, the tandai, and also they make another dish called gujia, which is like a pastry. It's made with wheat flour and stuffed with sweets in it. And then Pongal is a festival we celebrate in South India. It's the beginning. In South India, it's not very cold, right? But it's also the seedlings that come up for paddy and stuff. It's a midwinter festival. So we make this dish called Pongal, which is made with rice. It's also celebrated in the north. It's called Makar Sankrant. And again, it is to tell you that we see seedlings and it's going to come up soon, right? It's in the earlier part of the crop. Now, we make two dishes. In a minute, maybe we'll go to the other camera and I'll show it to you. We make pongal, which is made with rice and the mung dal mixed together. We make both sweet and we make salty. So yesterday, my friend brought this to me because in South India, we celebrate what's called Panguni Uttram. It's another festival we celebrate in South India. So this is what the sweet pongal looks like. It's made with jaggery, lots of ghee. Ghee is something I didn't even touch. It's clarified butter and raisins and cashews. Very yummy. And also that camphor I was talking to you about for some taste. And savory pongal is the same ingredients without the sweet in it, but it's got black pepper and cumin seeds in it. In fact, originally in India, there was no chilies. There was no tomatoes. There was no peppers. They all came after Vasco da Gama from Portuguese. He came to India to Goa. It's in the northern, the west part of India. He came there, and that's when he introduced it. After Columbus came to find the New World, then they took it to Europe, and then from Europe it came to India. So before that, there was no chilies. It's all black pepper. Some Indians won't use those, they call them English vegetables or whatever. And so they won't use some of those vegetables. Very traditional people. Rarely you find them anymore. But there are some traditional ceremonies we celebrate in, like death ceremonies, one of them, where they will not cook with any of those. Only native Indian vegetables and spices they use for Indian cooking for those. And then I think if we go back to the slide, there's another festival, Diwali. You all probably have heard of Diwali. It's the festival of light, right? And it's celebrated all over India, same time of the year, October, November. And it's also a celebration of, there's a story about good winning over evil. We won't get into all those details, but we make so many, it's the biggest festival in India. We make everywhere. It's all over India like Christmas. And we make all kinds of sweets, like 10 different sweets, it depends on the family. They start cooking weeks ahead. Families, communities get together and cook. And on the day of Diwali, we wake up early in the morning. We have to bathe, our hair, wash everything, wear new clothes. Then we have firecrackers. So it's a very beautiful, that's the time I miss India actually. Every year for Diwali, I wish I was there. And I think we are done with the slides. And I think this actually is one of my first cooking classes at Crate. I don't know if it's the first one of the cooking classes. And this is all the dishes we made in one evening, in 3 hours. It was so nice to be in person, to cook with a lot of people. But anyway, thank you so much once again. I hope I have given you some information, if not too much. Please, open to discussion and questions if you have time. And you can always reach out to me and send me email, call, get information from Chef Jason. Thank you again so much.
Oh,
Please.
no, thank you.
Happy
I did have a couple questions. One, do you have a recommendation for any of the Indian stores in the location to which we could get these ingredients?
What I'll do, I will send you a list. I actually do this to all my cooking classes. So I'll send you a list of Indian grocery stores in all over Pittsburgh. It has north, south, east, west. The one I go to is close to me. I'm in Point Breeze. So I go to the one called Bombay Market, which is on Center Avenue, Center and Craig.
Mhm.
There's also one Coley's on Craig near the museum. But there's a huge one in Monroe called Patel Brothers.
Oh, Patel
And
Brothers. Okay.
yeah, it's actually in that Mall Boulevard,
Mhm.
near where the TTIF and those restaurants, and then there's that big shopping complex there, long one. That's where Patel Brothers. Patel Brothers is the biggest one. It's a chain, and it's the biggest one in Pittsburgh too. And they have every Indian store is fine to go to. They're all very friendly, and they actually will talk to you if you have questions. They'll answer you. They're pretty good. Now, the other thing you can also do to learn more about Indian ingredients, if you go to my website, there is a video I have in the news. I think I put it in my news tab or whatever. I don't remember. But I have 2 videos there. I was a maker in residence for craft last semester. So as a part of that, I made 2 videos. One to talk about all these ingredients like I did today, and another one actually I went into the Bombay market, did a shopping, showed you aisle by aisle what they have. So please feel free to look at that when you get a chance. Does that help?
Yeah, most definitely. Most definitely. Thank you.
I'm going to make that drink, and please keep talking and asking me questions. Okay. I don't know what I did with my, oh, where's my glass? I had a glass just for the drink. I don't know what I did with it. Oh, here it is. So I'm going to pour the drink. Any other questions? Happy to answer. Pour the drink in the glass. There's a little bit left there.
Hey, Jay, this is Chef Chris. How has COVID affected you? By the way, hello, nice seeing you again.
Yeah, sorry. And then I'm going to just, you mean my business?
Yeah.
Yeah, see, it's just beautiful drink now. If you can see it. Initially when COVID happened, I actually had surgery on my right shoulder. That's exactly when COVID happened.
Mhm.
So I wasn't going to teach any classes for 3 months, right? And then kind of a coincidence, COVID happened at the same time. But then I started, I talked to FIPS, and everybody was going through the same thing. What are we going to do? How are we going to do classes? What I did was, even before I started teaching again at FIPS, which was end of last summer and fall,
Mhm.
you all know COVID brought Zoom to us and connected with people we couldn't meet anymore. I have, family and friends all over. We all had regular Zoom meetings. So I have a bunch of women that we, 4 other women that we get together once in a while. They're in different parts of the country. Long story short, I told them, why don't we do cooking together in Zoom? Because they all wanted to learn Indian cooking. So that was a good practice for me. I didn't have 3 cameras. I had this one computer at that time. And I had to carry my computer and, flip it was very interesting experience. And then I talked to FIPS, and they said, hey, they started teaching online. Are you willing to teach? So I started teaching. So we did a bunch of test classes. I started to teach online from home first. And then, again, setting up the cameras. In fact, one of the tripod I have belongs to FIPS. They actually lent it to me, but the one near the stove, which is great for me. But I do go into FIPS now in their kitchen. I have to wear a shield, there's only 3 of us there.
Mhm.
So I teach online from there. Again, same thing with craft. I go into the Eden Hall kitchen. I've taught last fall, and again, I was a maker in residence there, and I
I
taught
remember.
classes, and then I've been teaching. So, in some ways, I really enjoyed teaching in person,
Mhm.
but this has allowed me to continue what I love doing, and also reached out to more people who couldn't attend classes in person. So there are pros and cons, I think.
Well, I'm like I've since left Chatham, and now that I'm like branching out, trying to do my own thing, I'm trying to figure out a way to teach and find a way to teach others. I just can't find a kitchen, especially one that with induction that I'm used to cooking on, to teach people about induction, teach young children, adults, people who are probably looking to get into this. Do you,
Yeah.
other than Phipps, is there any other places in the city that you think I can probably get into?
At Phipps, actually, I teach kids classes from home.
Mm,
Yeah, definitely. I'm happy to introduce you to Tess, who's the kitchen manager there.
yeah, that'd be great. I'm looking to do like kitchen
Just
demos.
send me an email with your details.
You got
And
it.
I will be happy to connect you. When did you finish Chatham?
Oh, I
Oh,
was,
you're Chris.
yeah.
Oh my God, Chris. I'm like, it took me a few minutes to recognize you, Chris.
It's no worries. Yeah, you normally only see me in work clothes.
Yeah, exactly. Nice to see you here.
Good to see you. Yeah,
Yeah, you know all about what I do.
of course.
Pretty
But
much.
yeah, yeah, we've done a couple classes. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I can never forget the jackfruit incident.
Yeah, neither could Christina. She had to pick me up.
No, that was I keep telling that story to people. I said, you shouldn't, if you're allergic to jackfruit, I'm not giving you the fruit. You only have to canned craft jackfruit.
One day when I write my book, it's gonna be in that.
Yeah, there you go. I'm happy to come back. Or are you still at
No, I left. I'm now pursuing my own consulting company full time, Forward Dining Solutions. I actually spoke at the ACF last month. And we're starting a podcast that we're actually going to be recording this week, tomorrow, actually, our first episode. So we got a lot of things in the bag, but one thing I really want to do is teach. And I find that I love teaching, I especially love teaching kids. So, and like teaching people to understand complex
yeah,
culinary theory, if you will, and
right.
make it easy for everybody to understand. So, but the thing is, I don't want to cook on gas anymore. So I want to find a place here local that does that does electric. It's good to see that Phipps is doing that, and I was just hoping that there was other places as well, so I can,
Crate is
pick
the
up the
other
space.
place. Crate, the cooking school in Green Tree.
I don't.
Jen is really friendly, and you can reach out to her.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
or yeah, I can introduce her to you too. I
Okay.
haven't taught in crate since COVID.
Oh my
I
God.
haven't reached out to her too. I was trying to minimize what I did because I'm working on my meal kit business I was telling you about. That's been taking up some time. I tell you what, I don't know how you people all manage. Just getting insurance is like pulling teeth. It's
Yeah.
so much work just to find the right insurance. So I'm gonna have to get a permit from the city, Allegheny County, to be able to do. And I found a kitchen. So a lot of work going on. But Crate is another great place to teach your cooking classes. Yeah, and if you know of any, let me know. I don't
Okay.
know so many.
Yeah,
And
for sure. I'll send
some
you an
of
email.
the farms in Pittsburgh are also doing like farm to table kind of stuff where they're doing classes and stuff. Those are kind of things I'd like to get involved in because I want to be able to do connect with local people as much as I can for my cooking classes and my meal kits.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Good
I'll
to
send you an
see you.
email.
Please do. Yeah, I only have your Chatham address.
Yeah, I'll send you an email with all my updated information.
Excellent. Good to see you, Chris.
Absolutely. Great to see you.
Any other questions?
Well, Jay, I don't think we have anybody else that has anything, but I would like to, again, thank you very much for attending. Again, everyone, the slideshows are posted and the video will be posted as well. So there will be some reference material in case anybody wants to go back. And it was very informational. So thank you very much for attending.
I'm happy. My pleasure. Please.
And stay in contact. If you have anything
Yes,
else
we
you would
do.
like to do, feel free to get in contact with me. So
Yes.
I will be reaching out for a personal request here with the next couple weeks. So, but if you
Please
have
do.
anything else you'd like to share with the ACF, please do. We'd be happy to pass it along for you.
Yeah. Great. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much.
You all
Anybody
a
else have
good
anything?
evening.
No? Okay. Well, that'll be it for us tonight. So thank you again, Jaya. We really appreciate it.
My
Thank
pleasure.
you.
All right, take
Bye,
care.
Lisa. Thank you for working. You did perfect.
Thank you all very much. This was great.
Thank you
Thanks,
very
Chef
much.
Dave.
Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care, everybody.
Bye.
Does anybody else have any ACF related business that they would like to talk about? I know Chef Buskey wasn't available to attend tonight. I'll be reaching out to him soon, and I will get the if he's not